So back in the day, Florida oaks were basically not the primary species in Florida. And so at the end of the 1800s, when the logging industry came through in Florida, they cleared out the vast majority of the pines, the longleaf pines, which were the primary canopy in the state of Florida. And so what's interesting is when we think of native Florida, we think of Florida oaks and the live oaks and the swamp oaks and water oaks and turkey oaks and shoemart oaks, but really they existed, but there was very few of them. So what happened when the logging industry came through, when they removed those pines, the native understory, some of those oak trees, were the only things that could really survive in that more acidic soil that the pine trees had created. And so this is actually fairly new. And what's interesting, I'm a big history nerd. I love, reading books. When you study the old Seminole Indian history, many of their old medicines were directly connected to the pine trees and the longleaf pines. So when a lot of the understory changed, their medicines had to change. And so when you ask the older medicine men, the old traditions, they can't really harvest as many of those native things as they used to, because many of the species did change dramatically. The entire face of Florida, I think, really did change when we removed that actual canopy. And when you look at the conditions under an oak, and these notes will be mailed out to everybody, the neat thing with planting under our oaks is that it's all of the same kind of growing conditions. So we've got dappled sunlight, which is usually a little bit more sunlight in the winter. We have a drier soil conditions because, those oak trees are thirsty and they take up a lot of water. The average live oak, these big grandfather oaks like the one across the road here, they take up about 800 gallons of water a day. I mean, that is an insane amount of water that they're taking up. Now, thankfully, they're not taking it directly out of your yard and adding that onto your water bill, but they are getting it from down lower in the water table. And then what happens is under those oaks, we get a thick layer of the fallen leaves. Now, the challenge, with oak trees here, they're not like the white oaks and the red oaks of the north. Those oak leaves in the north, they kind of decompose after a few months or over the winter. Now, our oak leaves don't really decompose very well here. They're super high in carbon, very low in nitrogen, and they create those little cups that basically catch all of the water underneath of them. So it does create a little bit of a drier atmosphere underneath because those oak leaves catch it up. So usually what I do is I use my mower and I just mow over them a couple times. Underneath of the oak trees, the last two things is that because those leaves are very high in tannins, the soil is also high in tannins. So what does that mean? Good question. Thanks for asking. So what that means is that when those tannins start to decompose, it's going to be a slightly more acidic environment. So even though our native soils are going to be a little bit more on the alkaline side, underneath the canopy and around the drip line of the oak trees, it's a very, very different story. It's slightly more acidic, which in my opinion kind of creates a little bit of a fun growing space that you can do some things under that oak tree that you may not be able to do in other places in your yard. So for me, there are so many things. This is a quick glance list of some of the plants that we're going to talk about tonight. There are so many things that you can grow underneath the canopy of a Florida oak that aren't just going to get by and just barely survive. They're actually going to thrive underneath the canopy of that oak tree. So, and some of the ones that we'll talk about today are decorative, they're pollinators. Some of them are native, some of them are naturalized, but there's a lot of fruit trees as well that you can grow under the canopy of the oak trees. So from that list, I kind of gave the numbers, and again, these will all be emailed to you. And you can see underneath of the canopy of this one oak tree, I have all 21 of these things planted in more of like a botanical garden, kind of vibe. Now, you can have it very formalized with repeating patterns and repeating shapes and repeating sizes, or you can have it be a little bit more naturalized. So again, there's not a right way to do this necessarily. There's not a wrong way. but there's a lot of things that we can do to plant underneath of them. You can see some bananas, that are over here, some kale, witch hazel, that's the edge of a mulberry tree. So there's so many just unique and interesting things that you can plant. And some of them you might expect. Some of them, does anyone recognize that leaf there in particular? That's the Swiss cheese plant, or Monstera, that a lot of people grow in their house as a house plant, but in Florida, it actually does way better outside, underneath of the canopy of that oak tree. And then let me get to some of the pictures. So I'm gonna go through 21 of the different plants. Now we already know the oak, that's our number one player. Now when I design around an oak tree, now imagine this music stand is my oak. I really want to give the base of that tree several feet that those roots can just breathe, that those crown roots can breathe. I never want to shove wood chips up against the base. Now, when you wood chip your trees, which you always should, think about it like this. We prefer donuts, not volcanoes. So we never want to have the volcano going up the side of the tree with mulch and wood chips. We want a nice donut kind of going around the base of the tree, because those roots here on the side, those actually need to breathe. There is a breathing transpiration process, and we don't want the wood chips on the live roots because it can also cause rot on those roots. But around the base of these, this is a free game area where we can have, honestly, so much fun as far as the planting. My absolute probably favorite thing in Florida is citrus. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the Florida citrus industry. Citrus, back in the day, was like the bee's knees, especially in this area. Over the last probably 20 years or so, we have a disease called citrus greening. So if you're not aware of what greening is, basically what happens is a little bug bites the tree. It infects the tree with a disease that is, quote unquote, not curable. However, if you plant your oak trees or your citrus under the canopy of an oak, so go out to the edge of the drip line. So imagine this is my tree, here's my last branch, and you go straight down on the south or the west side, that's right where you want to plant your citrus trees. Now the reason for that is the tannins are actually like a natural antibiotic that can stave off the greening. Now, it's not gonna cure the greening disease, but it can stave it off significantly. So here's what's interesting. UF kind of did us over when it came to the citrus trees. Citrus, when you go to Asia and you look at how citrus are in nature, they're almost never, sometimes there's exceptions, they're almost never in their natural native environment in full sun by themselves. They're almost always in a dappled shade, they're around their native oak trees, or they're in higher tannin areas. And so when we brought citrus to Florida, we were told, take out all your oak trees and just do all citrus. Well, they were never meant to be in full sun. They were never meant to be away from those oak trees. And so then when the greening disease came, we couldn't do anything. We had no defense because we removed all of those trees. So the defense that we were told is chemicals, and try this fertilizer, and try more nitrogen. Well, the problem with synthetic nitrogen is that the carrier mechanism for all synthetic fertilizers for nitrogen is salt. So we're basically salting the soil. So when you go to the old citrus groves today, have you ever looked at the ones that are the blighted citrus groves? And the ground is still bare. That's not from Roundup. That's because there's salt in the soil that is still measurable in the soil there. So the big myth is, well, Roundup did it. It was all the chemicals. It was actually the fertilizers that we were told to use. So that's, for me, why I only use the organic fertilizers, because Florida sand locks up that salt and it never goes away. It never, ever goes away. So the beautiful thing with citrus under the canopy of those oaks is that the high tannins give us the ability to stave off that greening. Now, for me anymore, citrus trees, I would not consider a citrus your legacy trees. So for a legacy tree, consider something else that's gonna be more, long-lived. Any more citrus to me they're gonna live 6, 7, 8 years, maybe 10 years if you're lucky. They're probably gonna get the greening and they're probably gonna die. Now, it doesn't mean you rip them all out and you never plant them. Just consider it a short-term perennial tree, and it's no longer one of our legacy trees in Florida. So the third one is called the greater galangal. Is anybody familiar with what galangal is? So imagine all of the flavors of curry and Indian food all together in one root. So it's cinnamon and nutmeg and allspice and ginger and turmeric. It's literally Indian food all in one root. So the greater galangal, excuse me, will get to be 10 or 15 feet tall. It kind of grows in the structure of kind of like a bamboo, I guess you could say. It's not a spreader, it's a rhizome. The flowers are green, very nondescript. They're kind of sweet when you eat the flowers, but the root is where it's at. And so this is a great one that's gonna give you some height in the middle of the gardens. They grow this at the Harry P. Lou Gardens. You'll see it kind of worked in the midst of those areas, but it's a wonderful edible that is packed with antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, and curcumin. Number 4, one of my favorites, I have this absolute hatred. Yeah?
I hate to say this, but usually I have the trouble that people aren't loud enough, but you're too loud.
Too loud. I'll pull the microphone down. One of my absolute hatred plants is the bougainvillea vine. Have you ever had the bougainvillea vine, the pink ones? And they have those thorns on them that they're spiky, and they will cut you down to the soul. I mean, they are just absolutely bougainvillea, yep, bougainvillea vines. Bougainvillea, depends on what part of the world you're from. Depends on where you're from. And so those vines, to me, they just cut you to shreds. It's like you got to wear battle armor to use those. The nicer version of them is called Brazilian red cloak, but it grows as a bush. There's no thorns. It's not viney. It's not going to take over your entire yard or your patio. So this one grows as a really nice tall bush, about 7 to 10 feet tall on average. They say online 12, but mine has never ever gotten to be 12. And it gets these awesome magenta blooms that are almost year-round. So even in the middle of winter, like mine are still blooming right now, and they did not bat an eye and got down to 26 degrees, and I didn't cover them. And so they're very, very hardy. And it's kind of a fun pollinator too, because it gets the hummingbirds underneath of the oak trees, because normally the hummers are in the shade because that's where the other red plants are at. So the nice thing with this one is that it brings those hummingbirds underneath of the oak tree where you don't normally get to see them, and it's super, super bright. Now that one is not edible that I'm aware of. Number 5 is Jaboticaba. My former students used to call this the Jabba the Hutt plant. It is not pronounced Jaboticaba, so it is Jaboticaba. And so the Jaboticaba is like a Brazilian grape. Think of the flavor like this. It's like the sweetest grape you've ever had in your life, wrapped in Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's like wrapped in a red wine. Like it has that higher tannin skin. And if you don't like the high tannins, just suck out the middle of the grape and you're good to go. But it's a really kind of funky monkey because the fruit grows on the trunk and the branches instead of hanging off the branches at the end. And this does really, really well in this area. I literally had just planted one like a genius about 4 days before the deep freeze and didn't cover her, and she's totally fine. Didn't have to do anything for her. So this comes in a lot of different flavors and colors. It does take a little bit longer to fruit. So the red one is going to be the fastest. You can get fruit on that one from a 3-gallon pot size in about 3 to 3.5, 4 years. Now the black ones, those can take up to 5 to 8 years.
Would you consider it a tree or a bush?
They will grow into like a dwarf tree. But most of the time people grow them as a bush. Now in Brazil, they'll be 25 or 30 feet tall. Here, they just don't get that big. The oldest one that I have seen in person is about 10 years old at a natural farm in Howie in the Hills. And that one is in a greenhouse setting and protected, which it doesn't really need to be. And that one is only about 8 or 9 feet tall. So they're pretty slow growing, easy to trim. I know people that grow them in pots or grow them as bonsai, but they, again, love that acidic soil. Not a lot. Mine are never on water. I think for the most part, as long as you're wood chipping 6 to 8 inches deep, I pretty much never water. I don't do irrigation. Do you do twice a day?
Every fruit twice a day.
Wow. Yeah, I think I watered mine once last year. And I still get fruit, I still get fruit. Do you just get more fruit when you water them?
I set them on the 7-7 cycle.
Nice.
7 minutes at 7 a.m., 7 minutes at 7 p.m.
Nice.
I have one growing and I don't water it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm the lazy gardener. Have you ever heard of the stun method? Severe, total, utter neglect? I'm a stun method guy.
They didn't need protection because I thought they didn't like it when it got lower, like 40s, high 30s.
I didn't protect mine. She's always done okay. Yeah, they're pretty tough.
That's the one thing I've been working to protect.
I think she'll be fine. No, if it got down to like 24, yeah, maybe I'll protect it. But if it gets down to like 24, Florida's gonna die. You know what I mean? Like, there ain't no helping any of us at that point. So number 6, this one you don't have to protect, is witch hazel. So witch hazel will grow all the way up into zone, well, I have 5 here, but I've grown it all the way up into 4. So it really can take below 0, sub-zero temperatures. Witch hazel gets the pretty kind of funky little flowers on it. And that's what they actually distill in those old copper stills, and they distill the stems and the leaves of it, mainly the bark, and that creates the hydrosol that you would spray on your skin like as an disinfectant. But it's a great one for wildlife as well, especially in the springtime. Number 7, cherry of the Rio Grande. This is another one that can take super cold temperatures. The flavor of these they kind of vary a little bit. Like I've got one that's kind of like guava plum, but then my other one is more like a more tart, a sour, kind of a cherry. So this is a really good one. If you like the Bing cherries or the sour cherries from the grocery store, this is the Florida version of a cherry that we can grow. This will grow from full shade all the way into full sun. So you can do this one in almost any growing condition and super, super hardy. So mine has taken down to 24 and I've never covered it. She got a little bit crunchy on the top, but can really take the cold. What's up, Jude? We live in Florida. We do live in Florida. And we can't do the grocery store cherries in Florida, but this is a good alternative. Yes, ma'am.
Is that like the Barbados cherry tree?
No, the Barbados cherry tree is going to be a little bit more rounded. Those are more of a sweet, kind of a bland flavor. There's not a lot of flavor to them. Yeah, Barbados cherry are wonderful. That one you can use the leaves as a tea that's good for digestion. And the berries of Barbados cherry have the highest level of vitamin C of any fruit we can grow in the state of Florida. So it's actually higher than goji berries. So it's a really yummy one as well.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
I just bought one last week.
Oh, the cherry of the Rio?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm debating whether to put it in full sun where it's close to the spigot where I can keep it watered, or under the live oak. I could do either one, which would be better.
Dappled sun.
Dappled.
Some shade.
Yeah.
Sure, mine are huge and produce hundreds, perhaps thousands of fruits every year.
Yeah, they like about 3 to 5 hours of sunlight. They don't love the full whacking sun. Now, I have some in full shade, and they do great, but they take an extra year to fruit, so it just takes them a little bit longer to get going. So number 8 are blueberries. This is probably the only place I would try to go grow blueberries in Florida, is right outside of the drip line of the tree, kind of on the southwest side, just because, again, they like the slightly more acidic soil. So, and really, there's a lot of myths about how you acidify your soil. They say use pine straw, the pine needle straw around your trees, and it will acidify the soil. Total myth. There's zero science to back that up. The only time that works is if the needles are green when you put them down, and it only changes the pH for a matter of a couple weeks, and the pH goes straight back. So the only way to truly acidify your soil in Florida is to amend using like organic sulfur or something like that. You can do coffee grounds, but coffee grounds also are a very short-term solution. It's only going to change the pH and the acidity a little bit, and it's only going to do it for a shorter amount of time. So if you are doing blueberries, I like to do a lot of different varieties of them. Emerald is a great one that's a self-pollinating. Biloxi, Farthing, Snowcrisp, there's a lot of other varieties that do well. Now, when you go to the grocery store and you buy blueberries, there's probably 10 varieties of blueberries that are in that one single container. That's not just one one type. And so it just really helps increase the cross-pollination with your blueberries. And again, these on the southwest side is going to be the best, just beyond the drip edge of your oak tree.
They also require a lot of water.
They do love water. They do love water. You know, the blueberries were kind of Florida's UF's idea of, well, we've got acidic soil in the citrus groves, the citrus are dying, let's try blueberries. It's been an absolute failure. You know, the most successful blueberries that I've seen stay in the pot their entire life, where you can acidify that soil directly in the pot, and it just seems to be the easiest. Because the moment that pH gets below 6.5, you're not going to get fruit. At all. You will literally not get any fruit. It's got to be between 5.5 and 6.5 if you're actually going to get fruit on them, and it's very, very hard to keep them in that pH range. Number 9, the lesser galangal. This one I like because the flowers are just beautiful. You know, this one only grows to be about yay tall, stays super simple. Now, the roots of this, just like the greater galangal, can be used medicinally. It has that kind of curry Indian food kind of flavor to it. But the flowers on these are just super sweet. They're like a less gingery ginger snap. It's more of a sweet style of a ginger snap. But the lesser galangal, it just stays real short, super cold hardy. Again, I don't think I've ever covered mine ever, and it's taken 24 degrees like a champ. And this one does great in part shade all the way into full shade.
Is it in the ginger family?
It is it's kind of like a distant cousin. It's a distant cousin. Number 10 is the spiral ginger. This is the one that kind of grows like in a spiral like this. So you look down and it kind of looks like a corkscrew. Now, this is not a ginger that you eat the root. This is a ginger that it gets this little turtle head that comes out, and you get 1 or 2 of those little turtle heads a day, and you just pop that off and you eat it. And it is like the sweetest garden snack. It is literally one of my favorites that you just go bloop, and you just walk around the garden and snack on them. It's pretty much my every single morning. I'm walking around, because we all do it. We walk around with our coffee in the morning. We look at the plants to see how much they've grown overnight since the last time we looked. You know, and then I literally will just grab all of the little ginger snaps. And this is a big favorite for kids because they come in red and yellow and white. So there's a lot of fun different colors of those. Now, these are not quite as cold hardy, so mine, when we got down to 26, mine are all completely fried, but they grow back like a champ. So you just leave them, you know, they turn to mush like my soul does when we get frost like that. And once they're mush, cut them back in the springtime, and they'll come back just fine. So it's a really yummy, easy one to grow. And you can get a variegated one now, which I really think the variegated's cool. Yeah.
Is it true they'll come back if they were in the ground the first year? Like, should you protect it the first year?
Mine have always done it. Yeah. I mean, it's a root.
I dig out and throw away.
Yeah.
2 pounds of it every year.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me when you do that.
Swing by.
It's a yummy one. It's a nice spreader. So it's not going to spread like invasively, but it does, you know, kind of walk and do its thing. So to me, it's like toward the backyard, you know, kind of thing, where you want that really interesting visual interest. I think it's a great one to add in. Number 11, the turmeric mix. Now, there are so many types of turmerics. So turmeric is not just the orange root that we get in the grocery store. So this one here is actually the black. There's a black one and there's a blue one. Now, and every one of those turmerics have different medicinal uses. So I'm a master herbalist. I can't cure or treat or diagnose your disease, but I can recommend some foods to you that might be helpful, you know, for various things. So the blue and the black, what's unique about them is they have 5 times the curcumin or anti-inflammatory properties of any other ginger and turmeric. So if you're buying the turmeric capsules, if you have the blue or the black, you get 5 times the anti-inflammatory properties. So think things like polymyalgia or fibromyalgia or cancer or other inflammatory diseases. The blue and the black are great. The white spicy is a really nice one that is actually safe before, during, and after chemotherapy because the white spicy does not act as a blood thinner. The green turmeric, and these are all that color inside the root. So when you cut the root open, it's blue. When you cut the root root open, it's green. The green is the best for inflammation from the shoulders up. So think sore neck or back pain or migraine headaches. The green is a great choice. One of my personal favorites is the mango because it tastes like mango ginger. So it's think like chicken and basmati rice. And so it's a really great one to infuse that way. But there are so many ginger and turmeric options, and they're really good to set them and forget them. In fact, if you love your ginger and turmeric at all, it will die. It's one of those literally plant it, cover it with wood chips, never water it, never fertilize it, don't look at it too long, it'll just die. But if you literally set it, forget it, and walk away, it's gonna do awesome. Yeah.
Well, what kind is it that we buy, you know, we've been buying the root at the grocery store?
Yep.
And using that, and is that, what kind is that?
It is a turmeric. It's yellow, but that's the only one that they really sell in the store. So these ones you can get at greenhouses. Like, I think a natural farm in Howie in the Hills has the biggest selection. I think Lonnie Reed does have some at his farm as well. And then if you want to go to Orlando, there is a place called the Latte Plaza Market. And it's like an international market. It's a Korean-owned grocery store, and they do sell the green, the spicy, and the mango there as well.
Why would we want these instead of the yellow one?
The yellow one is probably the lowest anti-inflammatory properties, and it has the least amount of flavor. It's just the one that has been mass-produced for whatever reason. So if you're using it medicinally, like I think a lot of people do, then I would look at how I want to use it medicinally. So if it's because of migraines, I'm probably going to do the green. If I'm dealing with cancer, I'm probably going to do black or the blue. And this is just what I would do in my own health world. So the nice thing with them is the flowers are also very different. So the one you get in the grocery store, the flower is more like green with a little bit of white on it. But the one with the black turmeric, it looks like a bromeliad. Like it's just a really pretty, very unique kind of color. Correct. Correct. Some of them are very subtle. So like the white spicy is very similar to the green until you look at the root, but most of the flowers are going to be slightly different. So the white spicy has green and white flowers with little pink tips. So they're all the flowers are just slightly different on those.
Chris, one more thing. Can you
Yep.
repeat the name of that store in Orlando?
The Latte Plaza Market, Lotte Plaza Market. Great place to go if you just want to try cool fruit in Florida. Longan, lychee, cherimoya, soursop. If you just want to find really cool foods and try them on the fruit scale, that's a great place to do it. It's also the cheapest place if you're buying ginger, turmeric, sunchokes, sugar cane that you want to propagate it and grow it. Great place to go and get it. They got a lot of different mangoes right now, too. I think they had 6 different varieties of mangoes, which is cool. Number 12 is the edible taro. Now, not all taros are evil. Now, we have that invasive, awful spreader that is just, you know, it goes everywhere. There are many, like the Puerto Rican varieties, the red ones that don't spread really at all. They stay put. You'll get 1 or 2 around it that will spread, but they're not going to travel all over the place. And the roots are amazing. So the roots kind of taste like, if you make it like a mashed potato, it's like mashed potato with baba ganoush, or like a hummus kind of flavor to it. So it's a really yummy baba ganoush. It's hummus made out of eggplant. So think of it like mashed potatoes with a little bit more of like a nutty flavor to it. And so it's a really very, very delicious one. And these can grow literally in water, like at water edge. It will not do amazing at the St. John's because of the brackish water. It does grow, but it does better, you know, inland a little bit. But you can literally set these, forget them. It's not one that you have to water, not one you've got to pay attention to at all. Number 13 is Monstera. This is the Swiss cheese plant, you know, that you see in the store. The fruit gets to be about the size of your forearm, and it takes about 3 years to get your fruit. Now, once they start fruiting, the weird thing, it takes 1 full calendar year to ripen, and it is the most painful waiting process on the planet. However, when they ripen and you'll get these like honeycomb pieces that start to fall off, and you go, oh no, I missed it. That's when you want to eat it. And you never peel it back. You always let the little honeycombs fall off. And now I'm from Michigan. It tastes like my grandma's used to make this fruit salad with like a bunch of fruit in it and whipped cream, like tons of whipped cream. And that's what Monstera tastes like. And it is wonderful. It is just the most unique flavor. And this grows like a champ. People struggle so much to grow this as a house plant. If you put it outside, within a year, your leaves are that big. I mean, the leaves are massive. So this is a great alternative. Don't ever plant pothos or pothos outside. Incredibly invasive. Will spread, just miles, it feels like, down the road. This is a much better alternative. And it can climb, so if you want it to go up the side of the oak tree, you can do that. Or you can let it kind of sprawl and crawl. And it just makes you feel like you're walking through Jurassic Park. And so I like this one, especially if you're going for a botanical garden feel, because Monstera deliciosa is just it's so elegant, in its look and its appearance. Definitely in Florida, better as an outside plant. Number 14 is the Turk's cap hibiscus. Most people are familiar with the red, but it comes in white and blush and pink. And so there's a lot of different colors of it. This is another one that's an edible flower. So you literally just pull the flower off, you can eat it. Not a lot of flavor to it. It's slightly sweet. Kids always say, oh, it's so sweet, it's so good. It just looks pretty. But it's a nice one when you have people coming over and throw it on the salad and your house guests go, oh, I can eat this flower? Absolutely, you can eat this flower. And this is one that I never cover mine ever, like literally ever cover it. And it'll get a little singed on the top below like 25 degrees. You could cut it all the way down to the ground and it's gonna come back the next year even, more beautiful and more full. If they get tall and lanky, I just give them a really strong haircut and very easy to grow from cuttings. The red, the pink, and the blush are the ones from cuttings. White is super hard. I think I've only had like maybe 2 out of every 10 that I propagate for whatever reason. I don't know why the white is so fussy, but number 15, this is Chaya, not to be confused with Chia. So Chaya is like a Mexican spinach. So this one is very popular in South America. There's a larger leaf one that doesn't have quite as big of lobes in it. This is one that you do have to cook first. So this one, think about as like a softer colored green, basically. This one is not a fresh eater. It does have cyanic glycosides in it, so it can cause kidney stones if you eat it fresh, but you're not gonna wanna eat it fresh because it tastes terrible. I mean, it's literally awful. But if you're sauteing it, cooking it, I love mine with like butter, salt, pepper, garlic, extra Parmesan cheese, and then just, saute it in the pan for a couple minutes until it's soft, and it is absolutely wonderful. This one does great in full shade, gets really tall, probably 10, 11 feet tall-ish. They say 15 here, but I've never had mine get quite that big. And it gets nice white flowers on it for most of the summer coming into fall. So it's a great one for the long-winged butterflies, the Gulf fritillaria butterflies will frequent this one. So it's a good pollinator source in the shade as well. Number 16 is katuk. Anybody ever try katuk? Katuk grows really well in full shade. The leaves kind of hang down a little bit. It gives it this kind of Japanese, Asian kind of feel to it. So think, kind of an Asian garden area. The flowers are very dainty, nondescript. The berries are about the size of a marble, and the berries have the flavor and texture of pecans. And so it's a really easy one to just eat fresh right off the plant. The leaves actually have a pecan flavor as well. So think about the leaves in a salad with like raspberry vinaigrette and maybe some pecans or walnuts on top to play off of that. They say you can cook it, but I think this is a really nice salad one. This is probably one of my favorite salad crops that we can grow here in Florida. It's really good for lactation as well because it's very high in calcium levels. So this is true both for women who are nursing or women who are done nursing and they need that calcium to rebuild their body and strengthen their body. But it's also wonderful, I'm a farmer, it's wonderful for cattle and livestock and goats because it also increases lactation in animals as well. So this is a great one for fence line, forage and fodder. If you've got milking goats or a milking cow, it has the same effects on animals as it does humans.
Did you mention winter protection for that?
I don't. They don't love the cold. They might die back to the ground. Like when we got to 26 the other day, the top foot of mine got toasted and roasted, but everything else underneath was fine. And they'll come back from the roots, okay? Number 17 is wild coffee. In this area, you really can't grow coffee super well unless you've got a greenhouse scenario. The wild coffee, the name is very telling as to what it does. So you can technically make a coffee-like drink out of it. I've tried it, and it's like taking shots of pure espresso, and it makes you a little bit jittery. Now, if the poop hit the fan scenario and I had to have a coffee replacement, maybe I'll do it once a week. I'm probably just going to do Yalpan Holly for my, caffeine fix. But this one is great for native wildlife. And so this is a Florida native plant. So the berries are a favorite of songbirds and squirrels. The flowers are great pollinators. Doesn't get real tall, so stays real nice and short. But I do like having the natives here because it does supply for our local wildlife.
Is that why squirrels are so cool?
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah, it makes you wonder. Partridge berry, number 18. This is another native, so it does get a berry on it. This is not a berry that is safe for humans, so I don't do this in a food forest setting where kids or somebody might confuse it as, edible for humans. But this is great for native wildlife. It's awesome if you want to attract the native quail back to your yard. So actually, a couple years ago, I accidentally didn't latch the door to my quail hutch and had all of the quail just get out in the yard. Now, the amazing thing is they stuck around because there was so much coffee berries and the partridge berry that was just around. It's been like 3 years, and you can still see the quail out in the similar area, and they're just diddly bopping along, doing their thing, and making their cool sounds. You get the occasional eggs. They don't nest. They just kind of plop them and drop them wherever they're going. So you find the occasional little quail eggs around, but we do have native quail in Florida, and this is a great one as a ground cover in the more shaded areas. Number 19 is flowering maple. Sometimes they call it the tiger's eye or the Chinese lantern plant. So it just kind of hangs down like this. It's yellow flowers with red, deep red and orange veins on it. This is another edible type hibiscus. So the flowers you can just pick off. You can eat them, put them right in your mouth. It looks great on a salad if you're trying to impress your guests when they come over for dinner. And this one is super cold hardy. I didn't cover mine at all in that freeze, and it did an amazing job. And that can do actually full sun all the way to most shade. Full shade, it hasn't done well. It got a little bit lanky for me in the full shade, but it does well in that partial area. Number 20 are any of the dwarf mulberries. Now, dwarf mulberries, unlike the native trees, now the native trees will get to be 20, 30, 40 feet tall. They get huge. Now, there's a lot of dwarf varieties or semi-dwarf varieties that will be a dwarf tree like 12 to 15 feet tall. But what I like about them is you can hedge them. So you can keep it as a bush shape, which makes it way easier for picking. And they love to be pruned. In fact, on many of the dwarf varieties, if you just snip the tips after they're done fruiting, it starts another fruiting cycle. So wait a couple weeks when they're done fruiting, just snip the tips, just cut off, the top 4 or 5 inches of it, and it just starts another fruiting cycle. Everybody talks about dwarf ever-bearing mulberry. It's probably my least favorite. They're the smallest. They're kind of dry. I like the dwarf ever-bearing mulberry. It's better for like wild songbirds. I love it for the songbirds. If I'm looking at the dwarf varieties, I like things like the dwarf Thai red. That's a really good kind of more sweet and slightly tart. My favorite is called Chiang Mai 60, CHIANG-MAI, the number 60. That one is really big, really juicy, really sweet, and it's kind of like that burgundy purple kind of color. Dwarf Shah Reza is really good. Shangri-La is another really good one, and those are all ones that you can grow just outside of the canopy of the oak tree. These can go in full whack and sun too. I allow myself, if you know me, 1 healthy addiction every year. I don't have time for unhealthy addictions. So I get one healthy addiction a year. I've cheated because this one I've held on to for 2 years. I wanted to see how many varieties of mulberries I can get, and I've got like 37 right now. And I'm a really big nerd, so of course I have a spreadsheet that has the flavor palette of all of the berries, how tall they get, where I've grown them, and I'm testing them here in Kansas City and in Michigan because I want to see exactly how they do in the different growing zones. I love spreadsheets. I was a teacher for 17 years. So mulberries are one of my absolute favorites. It's one of my passions, and they're so, so easy to grow. You can grow them from cuttings, and you just cannot kill these things. They're so wonderfully cold hardy.
I was going to ask you, how long has the Chiang Mai 60 been your favorite?
Probably,
Check your spreadsheet.
I would be lying if I said it's been very long. It's my favorite because it's fruiting right now. So Chiang Mai 60 and Dwarf Chow Reza are fruiting and flowering right now, and everybody else is dormant and sassy. So like everybody else has no leaves on them, and they're like full flower, full fruit. So I think it's only been my favorite for probably a couple weeks because it just happens to be the one that I'm eating right now. So 21, I think this is our last one, is the Orange Flame Justica. So this one does come in white and pink, I believe is the other one. It gets to be about yay tall, but it blooms year round. And so it's a great one for butterflies, hummingbirds. It's a really, really hardy plant. It's another one that you could let it get frosted all the way to the ground, and it comes back beautifully. They do sell this one locally here at Bloomers in San Mateo. So they actually had the two varieties. They had the pink and they had the orange the last time I was there. But I think the flowers are really pretty. It looks a little bit like lion's tail dogga to me, but the leaves are a little bit bigger and longer. But it's a very pretty, nice, ever-blooming. It's always putting on a good show. Disney uses this one a lot in their designs because it's really good for bringing in those butterflies, which makes everything more interactive. And it's a no-maintenance plant. You never have to fertilize it. You don't have to pay attention to it. If it gets, frosted, which I think has only happened to me once in 6 years.
What's that family? I can't quite read it.
The family, Justica Chrysostephanea. I don't know.
At first glance, it looked like it might be an azalea.
Yeah, no, it's not in the azalea family. The flowers are a little bit similar to the native Cape Coral honeysuckle, but a little bit smaller. So these flowers are going to be in clusters about like the size of an apple versus the Cape Coral is like half of a basketball. This one grows only about yay tall, so grows similar. I'm trying to think of what it would be. Like the lesser galangal would be about the same size, so about 4 or 5, 6 feet tall at most. So it stays pretty short, but it's not a woody stem. It's a softer green stem.
You talked a lot about berries, but we have one we recently discovered, and I wonder what you think about it. It's a Suriname cherry.
Suriname cherry, I think it tastes like turpentine. It's really different. Now, if you really want, so Suriname cherry, yeah, the red ones, the native Floridians love them. And they're okay if you pick them and put them in the refrigerator overnight and let the sugars kind of actualize in it. They're a little bit resinous and pine. There's a lot of a pine flavor, to it. I don't think the red are very good. There is a black variety that is less turpentine-y and a little more cherry-esque, but it's still pretty turpentine-y. Now, there is a cousin that's called yellow star cherry or patanga tuba. Do you have any of that today? That is my absolute favorite. And it's literally tastes like citrus pineapple. And I never cover it. I never protect it. Takes about 2.5 years. And the fruit start off really small your first couple years. Mine last year were literally that big. They were absolutely gigantic last year. And they're super juicy. They're super sweet. You don't get that resiny turpentine flavor, but it's like citrus pineapple all in one fruit. And they're just, you have to lean over when you eat them because they're so juicy and so good. So if you're looking for a good berry cherry, Lonnie's got a couple of those outside, and that's probably one of my absolute favorites. That one does like full sun more than it likes the dappled shade. But
I grew them right in my Javos.
oh, do you? Nice.
3 Javos and 3 patanga tubes.
Yeah, kind of southwest side-ish of Oaks.
Yeah, just get
It's a little dappled.
Getting some sun,
Yep.
most of the shade.
Yeah, mine did okay in the full shade, but they took like 4 years to fruit, and I ain't got that much time. You get them in full sun, and and the fruit is so good, and it's weird. It's a really fun one. They're like yellow pumpkins, little mini yellow pumpkins and shit. Yellow star cherry or Patanga-tuba, and he has a couple of them outside.
Gallo.
What's that?
You said gallo?
Yellow star cherry, or Patanga-tuba, Pitanga-tuba, Patanga-tuba. No, it does look a little similar to a carambola. It's like it's more of a pumpkin shape than a longer shape like carambola, but they're much juicier. Carambola has that texture of like a cucumber, so it's got a little bit of that crunch to it, versus the yellow star cherry is like pure juice. I mean, it is like pure juice.